Okay, so this video above, the pain avoidance curve, to be honest with you, is something that is very near and dear to my heart. I think I covered it in the video, but this is something that I developed on my own after reading, hundreds of books. And sort of connecting some of the principles and really my own experience as it related to those particular principles. Be honest with you, early on in my career, I didn't necessarily really understand why I was being so successful in moving up, starting from ground level positions and then all of a sudden being president of a company, or maybe coming as a manager and then all of a sudden just gaining clout with the senior vice presidents and the presidents and the CEOs of the company, where in the boardroom they were saying, hey, we have the superstar, whatever, when ultimately everyone else around me kind of stood where they were. I attribute most of all of that to this particular idea of being okay with becoming vulnerable, with ultimately not being being afraid of something called shame, and becoming a vulnerable and not worried about being embarrassed, or not worried about being called out as being wrong. It allowed me to actually contribute, and that contribution allowed other people to see that, well, I had something to contribute. And when those contributions ended up to a higher bottom line, or to advancements in the company, or what increases in sales, or whatever it was, I got rewarded through that, through additional promotions and so forth. The people around me during that period of time, which I believe I covered, didn't necessarily do that. They got really great incomes, and then all of a sudden they stopped doing it because they were worried, and they said, well, now I have $150,000, or I'm making $150,000 a year. When I bought all this crap, I can't lose my job because now I have to pay for this big house and this nice car and all that kind of stuff. So what they do, they stopped being vulnerable. But what that means is they stopped actually contributing, and that basically made them 100% irrelevant. The number one reason why we have famous people in the world, I'm 100% convinced of it, is we are attracted to quirky, silly, kind of crazy people. What that is, the difference between the superstars out there and everyone else, is their ability to just not really care. Their ability to, I'm thinking of, was it whatever his name is now, showed up with his girlfriend, and she was completely naked. And I was like, what the heck? I mean, talk about being vulnerable. But she was everywhere. She got noticed everywhere. What makes her famous? What makes her whatever? Whether people like her or hate her, that doesn't really matter. Her being vulnerable. Most of us would sit there and go, I would never do that. I would never wear that. I would never say that. I could never get on stage, because we're worried about shame, ultimately being embarrassed. And so therefore we are unwilling to be vulnerable. So a big person that is instrumental. This person actually is what connected me and my wife. So it's very, very sort of near and dear to my heart. Dr. Brene Brown. I give you a couple of books. The Power of Vulnerability is going to be one of them. It's listed here. You must read at least that book. If you read that and it connects with you, even the littlest bit, she's got like 2 or 3 other books. I encourage you to read them all. They all sort of kind of interlink with one another, but they're all extremely, extremely powerful. Oftentimes, the difference between successful and not being successful is this thing right up here. It's your mind, and you have to get it right. If you think like other people, if you think like other successful people, if you act like other successful people, which is ultimately being vulnerable, being bold, contributing, and those contributing making impact, and that impact then increasing the bottom line, that ultimately is going to make you more successful. So very, very important. Take the time. If you didn't necessarily understand 100% the power of what I talked about, the pain avoidance curve, go through the lesson, come back, really, really understand that. We'll be doing masterminds specifically on that one thing several times a year. But go read Dr. Brene Brown, go watch her TED Talk, go listen to read the book, get the audiobook, wherever you can find her, go soak up as much information. It will change your life just like it changed mine.